Welcome, everyone. Delighted to have a very, very distinguished and special guest with us, who is one of the most familiar faces in terms of rescue and heroes of Israel. We've met him before, and we're honored to be able to meet him again. And that is Eli Beer, the president of and founder of United Hatzolah in Israel. Eli, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Eli, we want to go straight into it. I know your time is exceptionally precious. Perhaps you'd like, for the uninitiated, just to share with us a bit about the work of United Hatzolah and the scale in which you operate pre-October the 7th, and then we can discuss about, October the 7th and forward.
So, first of all, here in Israel, we feel in United Hatzolah, we're still in October 7th. We didn't.
Sorry, can you just speak a bit louder, just so we can make sure we hear you?
Yes. Here in United Hatzolah, we actually feel that we're still in October 7th. We're actually still living through October 7th in different stages. We came into October 7th, while we were celebrating Simchas Torah. It started for us very early in the morning because we have volunteers who were there October 6th, October 5th, October 4th, living there. We have hundreds of volunteers who live in every city, in every kibbutz, in every village. And when this thing started happening, we actually got reports from the field what's going on in their communities. No one knew exactly what others were suffering from, what others were experiencing. So we actually understood quite early that we're dealing with a multi-casualty incident that's in the entrance to Israel from everywhere. And I got to the dispatch downstairs in United Hatzolah, and Shabbat morning, Saturday morning, that morning, we only had 10 dispatchers answering the phones and dispatching because it's a regular Shabbat morning. It's very quiet. In a regular day, during the day, we have 30. So we had to right away rush people to come immediately to the command center to answer phones because we had hundreds of people calling us from everywhere. It looked like a cyber attack, more or less, because it was like early in the morning, not expected. All of a sudden, all the phones are ringing from everywhere. People are crying on the phones. So we knew it was real, but it was a situation that we had to get people running into the dispatch. So the first ones who came were actually our volunteers who live nearby the Hatzalah headquarters, which is in the entrance to Jerusalem, Romema, and all these other areas, even from Belz. We had volunteers coming from Shul with the talises. And I remember the first volunteers running into Shul with the talis. I was like deja vu from the pictures I saw when I was a young kid. And we all saw the pictures of Yom Kippur War. And everyone was running with the talis to get the guns and fight. That's how it was. And then we said, okay, we have enough dispatchers. Now we need volunteers to take all the brand new ambulances we just got before Sukkot. Wow. We got brand new ambulances that were parked outside. We weren't 100% finished. We still needed to finish it off. They worked for months to build them. And we just got it delivered. So we had 10 ambulances parked outside. So I needed drivers right away to take them. And again, volunteers came with the talis from shuls. This is 7:15, 7:30. People in Israel go to shul very early on Simchas Torah, especially the Hasidim. And within minutes, we gave out all the keys to these ambulances. And it was really unbelievable because usually we have to, when you get keys, you have to register and you have no bureaucracy. I said, zero bureaucracy. Anyone who's a volunteer of ours, just get them a key. We have a war going down. And I was outside giving out keys to volunteers to just take out their equipment they needed, because not all of them had all their equipment. Not all of them had bulletproof vests and helmets. And then a young volunteer from Manchester actually comes in, Shalom Avitan.
Yeah, we met him.
From Manchester. He runs in. He says, I'm going to go down south. I said, okay. We gave him, he went in and he joined the ambulances. Within seconds, they all disappeared. All the ambulances we had in Yerushalayim, besides we left 5 ambulances in Yerushalayim from the old ambulances that were still operating through Jerusalem. We couldn't leave Jerusalem without ambulances. But then we started taking slowly other places, taking part of their forces out, Tel Aviv, Netanya, even every city we could. Just go down south. Go down south. They need you there. We didn't know that we're talking about 2,900 terrorists. Maybe if we would have known, it would have been a different situation. We thought we were talking about 50 to 100 terrorists, which was also very dangerous. We were telling people to be wearing bulletproof vests and helmets because people are dying. We already had a few volunteers that were injured, and we already had 2 volunteers killed. This was early in the morning, by 7:15, 7:30. I don't remember the exact moments, but we got to notice that one of our volunteers who was helping save lives in the party there, in the Re'im party.
Yeah.
Awad, his name is, an Arab volunteer. He was shot by terrorists after they found that, even if they found out he was an Arab, but he was treating a Jewish girl. He didn't want to leave her sight. People running away everywhere. He didn't want to leave her. He was treating her, trying to stop her bleeding, and the terrorists caught him and killed him. And then,
Ellie, let me just interrupt you there, because I'm just thinking, what's it like for you when you're saying this, to think back? You know, you feel you shoulder the responsibility of United Hatzolah. You have thousands of volunteers, and some of them you sent out that day and they haven't come back. You know, how do you feel? How do you deal with that?
well, I knew we're fighting for our lives. I mean, I knew it's going to come to Yerushalayim. I was sure it's going to come to Yerushalayim. I was not I didn't have a doubt that we're going to handle a war in Yerushalayim. And Yerushalayim has 850,000 people in the city. And I was trying everything possible to make sure the religious people in Yerushalayim know about it, because no one knew. People thought that sirens of missiles, they didn't realize, because they don't listen to the radio. So we were sending cars even to announce it people should not go to shul. We didn't want, like I was saying, don't go to shul. Stay home, lock the doors. And I knew that we have to go in. I knew it was not a question of me. My wife, Gitti, she's a paramedic.
Yeah.
She wore her bulletproof vest. She also carries a gun on her. She put on a gun. She put on all the magazines she has. She took the medical supplies. She took the intubation equipment. She took everything. And then she said goodbye to me. And she says, Ellie, I may not see you again. And what do you tell your wife then? My wife, I love, she's a grandmother of my 4 grandchildren, my 5 children. My daughter, Abigail, says goodbye to me. And she's going down south. My son-in-laws, they're all Hatzolah. They all said, like, I stayed in Yerushalayim in the headquarters because I had to run the show from Yerushalayim. But eventually I knew I'm going to go down south. But I didn't know if I'll find my wife or kids, because and then my son Israel is in the army. And he was actually, that Shabbat was in the army, my son. And he was fighting. And it wasn't a question if I'm sending volunteers in. Of course, that's what we're here. You know, we're lifesavers. We can't run away. I mean, regular people, we're hiding. We are not regular people, and we have a responsibility. We learned how to save lives. We have the medical supplies, and people expect people to help them. Unfortunately, sadly, so many people were waiting too many hours for help, and many people died waiting for help. But we tried everything possible to get to these people, and hundreds of people were saved thanks to the courage of these people. Like Shalom, like my wife, like my children, like other volunteers. We had over 1,200 volunteers who went in to help out. Most of these people went in, they saw terrorists running in front of them.
Goodness me.
And this was the real life we were dealing with. This was not a movie. This is not you're not in Hollywood watching anything. You were watching terrorists running towards you. We had volunteers that were shot towards them. We had volunteers, unfortunately, that were hurt or killed. And we have 2 volunteers who are hostage now in Hamas, by Hamas in Gaza.
We haven't heard about that. Do you want to share a bit about do you know the circumstances, how they became hostages?
Well, Dolev was one of them. He ran out of his kibbutz in his yeshuv. He told his wife to hide in the bomb shelter. He said, he has to go help out. and he never came back. And we don't know how many people he helped, but we're sure he helped many people. Bar Cooperstein was another one. Bar was in the party. He was an EMT actually in the party and a security guard protecting the people there in case something happened. They never thought anything like this will happen, but they were there to protect. We had 5 volunteers there protecting. The story with Bar is even more tragic because Bar is 21 years old. He's an EMT, and his father's an EMT in United Hatzolah. And 3 years ago, he was on the way to a call. His name is Tal. He's on the way to a call of a 4-year-old girl not breathing in Rishon LeZion. Mm-hmm. And on the way to the call, he was hit by an accident. He was driving on a bike, on a Hatzolah motorcycle, on an ambucycle. And he was hit, and unfortunately he was a few months in a coma, and he was never recovered. He's on a wheelchair. He's paralyzed. He can't even talk, but he knows everything that's happening. And I'm devastated for him because he knows his son is kidnapped. He cries all day, all night. He can't do anything about it. He's in a wheelchair, but he was a tzaddik. His father went out to save lives, and got injured. And now his son was saving lives and got kidnapped. And he's a soldier too. So the chances of him surviving is very, very high. There are a lot of prayers for all of these, for the hostages and for the people, their family members. We have 6 family members of volunteers. Like the if you know the family, the Bibas family, the mother and the 2 little babies are family members of United Hatzolah. It was that's why I was still living through October 7th. And the reason why we were so successful in saving many lives, unfortunately not enough, but it was because we were there October 6th. We were there October 5th, and for months before, and for years before. And just to remind everyone here, especially the English fellows who are seeing so much propaganda against Israel. Talking about October 7th at 5:59 in the morning, we had a ceasefire. And we are not the ones, we were sleeping while the ceasefire was interrupted, not by Israel, not by the Jewish people. And this is what we were dealing with, unfortunately, since then. We were able to save many, many people, and we were able to help many people, but it's not over. We still have a lot of soldiers who are coming back injured, and unfortunately, a lot of soldiers are not coming back. We have 2 volunteers of ours who are soldiers who one of them is a volunteer, and one of them is a son of a volunteer, who were just killed in the last week. It's very hard for United Hatzolah now, and for everyone in Israel.
Yeah, we hear that. We appreciate you sharing, which is such a difficult parsha. Is there any lessons that, or any adjustments that Hatzolah has made or will be making in view of October the 7th?
Well, yeah, we.
Well, let me ask you: is there anything specifically that you need? Shalom and Danny spoke to us a bit, but what is it that the equipment, gear that Hatzolah needs moving forwards?
Well, we need, besides for equipment, we need more people. Our biggest assets, the most important asset that we have is Shalom. It's the rest of the volunteers. Daniel, every single one of them is a lifesaver, is a fighter, is really a soldier, a civilian soldier. And my goal is right now to triple the size of the organization slowly. In the next 5 years, I want to get to 16,000 volunteers. I am now holding in 7,000. Also, this year is a hard year because a lot of people that are injured of our volunteers are not going to have an easy time going back to respond. We lost a few volunteers, and some volunteers are so petrified or so traumatized they're not going to come back. So what I want to do is, my thing I want to do the most is to get volunteers trained, people from Amcha, to get people to get get them trained to become volunteers. And that's the most expensive process. It takes a year. We have to train them. We have to buy them medical supplies and equipment. And our budget we want to raise for that and get for that is $10,000 for each volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my most important things. More than defibrillators, more than anything, is the people, to train them.
Training, right.
Professionals. And training them is also drilling, making big drills. It's unbelievable to see what we did for years. We had drills here that we did, and it was unbelievable. They were using the knowledge they learned in the drills in the real life when they saw it happen.
Goodness me. Wow. Incredible.
We never thought it would happen like that. I'm telling you, Rabbi, the biggest scenario we had is 30 people killed and a few people kidnapped. I'm talking about the south of Israel.
Yeah.
We never thought it's going to be anything like this. And even the day of, when I started getting reports, we had a big white board and we started writing down, in this area, we have 25 people killed. In this area, 2, 5, 10, 20, 30, 100. I didn't believe it. I thought that they were counting the same numbers again and again. I was sure they're making mistakes.
Yeah.
And I said, something's wrong because it doesn't make sense. It took us quite a while to start believing what happened was real. And we're still having a hard time believing, because it's a tragedy that the Jewish people, after so many generations that we suffered so much, finally we have Israel, we have the country, we have an army, but I guess the enemies of ours don't sleep at night. They think about how to kill us. That's what the enemies are doing. And now we have to make sure to learn from this is to prepare, to be prepared. And United Hatzolah wants to be prepared. We want to make sure that if, God forbid, anything happens, our people will be trained, equipped, and ready to save lives. And no one should wait 7 hours for help, because in every second home, we will have a volunteer.
It's absolutely essential, and I have to tell the viewers whilst I have you here, because Eli was in America, I believe, when we had a United Synagogue mission to Israel, and we visited one of the most iconic sites, I would say, in Jerusalem after the Kotel in the Old City. Is you have to make a beeline for the United Hatzolah to see all the elements and infrastructure. The hub, the center of communications, and the way they respond is simply breathtaking in the lengths that Eli has gone to and United Hatzolah go to in making sure that we can be there for every single Jew and non-Jew alike. Eli, I think one of the things you should make mention of, if you don't mind me saying, is it was pointed out to us, you have volunteers which are Jewish, not Jewish, Arab, not Arab, and you save anyone's life that requires assistance that in Israel, be it Jew or non-Jew alike, which I don't think many people are aware of.
Exactly. I mentioned this before, that one of the volunteers, the first volunteer was killed, unfortunately, was an Arab volunteer from Nazareth. And he was Muslim. And I went to pay a Shiva call by his father and mother. And I can tell you, it was devastating to see this family, a beautiful family. They love Israel. The Arabs, they're Muslim. They go to mosque every day, and they were so, torn apart after the son, who they love so much. He was supposed to be a doctor. He ended up as a paramedic, but he saved many people. As a United Hatzolah volunteer, he had the Israeli flag on him. He was really proud of being a volunteer. We have 750 volunteers who are Arabs in United Hatzolah.
Incredible.
It's amazing. And they love what they do. They love the connection. Even yesterday, I can't even tell you how proud I am. I had a course of a course downstairs. While we're doing this, I went into a room downstairs where you were in that room.
Yep.
Training people how to take blood. Right? The stabbing, in Hebrew they say dokeh, they're sticking needles inside each other. I go in. I promise you, I never saw anything like this during a war in Israel. This BBC should take this piece and put it on. During a war, a Jewish Israeli soldier who volunteers for United Hatzolah let an Arab woman from East Jerusalem with a hijab train on him to take blood. And she was sticking the needles in him. And then he went and he switched and he was training on her. That's how we do it. Could you
It's
imagine
incredible.
this is United Hatzolah? There was no
This is
way
a story, Ellie, that you need to write and to tell the world. You need the media to hear this story. It's a story they don't want to hear, but it's a story that only you can tell. It's a narrative we haven't heard. I'm telling you.
People need to hear because we need some points of optimism. The truth is, I'm optimistic. I really think we're going to win this war. And for many, many years and generations, we will have a quiet. Because our goal, and by the way, every Arab volunteer that I'm involved with here believes the same goal. Hamas are not Muslims. Hamas is a new type of religion that they build. It's ISIS, Hamas, Al-Qaeda. I call them not the Hamas killers, the Hamas rapers. They also killed. They are the worst type of human being existing. They don't represent the normal, regular Arabs that live here. They took over. They literally hijacked their country and took over their city. The cities took over the mindset of people. And hopefully we will eliminate every single one of the top of the Hamas people. And it's exactly what happened in 1945. You live in England now, but your parents, maybe your grandparents, remember what happened when they were bombing Berlin. And in Berlin, Hitler was hiding in the bunkers. And the world didn't know what's going to happen. But once Hitler committed suicide, and then the top of the Nazi parties went out, surrendered.
Yeah.
The Nazi party disappeared. And look at Germany today. Look at Germany today. And you're not going to believe it. I'm telling you something crazy. A lot of crazy stuff I'm sharing today. The second day of the war, I'm down south, and I'm devastated. I still saw terrorists alive, because 2,900 terrorists. It took a week to catch most of them or kill them. And all of a sudden, I get a phone call. A guy calls me up. He says, "I want to connect you with the president worldwide of Mercedes, the German biggest manufacturer of cars, Mercedes." And I said, "What is it about?" He wants to talk to you. And the guy goes on the phone. And he says, "Mr. Beer, my name is," I forgot his name. He has a Swedish, I think he's from Sweden or something. He's a CEO or president of Germany, of Mercedes. And he says, "We want to donate €1 million to United Hatzolah to help save lives of Jewish people in Israel." I'm like, I wish my grandfather was alive now.
Yeah.
To hear this.
Wouldn't believe it.
Surreal. And we're in a war now, in another Holocaust, mini Holocaust that happened. And I'm saying, the reason I'm saying this is we have some I'm like optimistic that we're going to kill all these top of the Hamas leaders. They all have to die. And all the terrorists who were involved has to die. This is no question. But we have to respect the Arabs who live here in Israel and want to live peacefully and quietly and hug them and let them thrive together with us, because we are one country that respects everyone. Anyone who kills should not be alive in Israel. These Hamas people, because if we don't get rid of them now, they're going to go to other countries. They're going to get to England. They're going to get to France. They're going to get to Canada and the United States. We're now doing the job for everyone in the world.
Absolutely. And we there are no words that we have, but we certainly want to do our bit and to support you and your incredible organization. So I hope that afterwards you'll share the link, or your staff will, and we will share it with the community so we can continue to be united with United Hatzolah. Eli, thank you so much. Wishing you bracha v'hatzlacha from everyone in the United Kingdom.
I want to say that I'm always proud to speak at the United Synagogue organization. I hope one day to be invited again to some of your shuls. You have incredible shuls. I think the last shul I spoke to before I got sick with COVID in 2020 was that, and I almost died in Miami, but I was in England in one of the United synagogue shuls. I don't remember which one it was.
St. John's Wood. Were you not with Rabbi Yoni Golka? Was it not there?
Yes, I think so. Yes,
Yes.
I think because I got so sick for a month, I was in a coma. But so I just want to say thank you to you and to everyone in part of the organization. And if you want to go on our website, it's israelrescue.org.
Israelrescue.org to donate. Highly encourage everyone to have the privilege and to be a partner with Eli and with United Hatzolah in saving lives in Israel. Phenomenal organization.
And one last thing, I see behind me, behind you, you have the chumashes and all the Sfarim.
Yeah.
I just want to show you what I have behind me.
Please.
Here.
What is that?
This is a missile.
Oh my goodness. Please, can you bring it forward? Can we see it? Can we see it a bit closer? We haven't seen one like that. Oh my goodness. Where does that come from?
This is a real missile.
Oh my word. Are you watching this, everyone? This
is a real missile that fell right next to me.
Oh.
And it's heavy. It's very heavy. Could you imagine how much gunpowder they had inside to make sure to kill all of us?
So that fell next to you when you were in Gaza. When you were in the Sderot.
And the volunteers, thank God, no one got hurt. We all lay down, and all the shrapnel fell everywhere, and we had bulletproof vests and helmets. But they surprised me. They brought it here, and they gave it to me as a monument to remember all the miracles that we had. Think about it. Could you imagine? I don't know how many missiles were launched towards London in 1942, 3, 4, whatever, all the years of the war.
Yeah.
We had over 100,000 missiles launched towards Israel in all these years. Since the days we left Gush Katif.
Yeah.
Look at us. It's unbelievable.
It's incredible. Mi Kamcha Yisrael. Who's like the Jewish people? And Am Yisrael Chai. Eli, thank you so much. Wish you bracha v'atzlacha, and we look forward to continuing to support you in your incredible work. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All the best. Bye now.